everyone. I want to ask you a question. Who is your boss? Your head or your heart? Now, when you look at a human being as opposed to animals, the animals, their head and heart are on the same level. Human being that walks upright, his head is above. And so the first answer you would say is that the head, the mind, is the director of the show. So much so it says in the Zohar, in the seminal work of Kabbalah, it says that if you take the initials for mind, which is Moach, Mem, heart, Lev, and the liver, which is considered to be the organ that's in charge of the lower part of the body, called the Kaved, you spell the words together from mind, Moach, Lev, Kaved, it spells the word Melech, king. If you go with your head up front and your head directs you, then you're like a king. But if you go the opposite way, the liver, the kaved, the lev to the moach, it spells the word kalem, a disgrace. So if you go backwards up and your body dictates how you go, your heart dictates how you live, then in a certain way, it's a disgrace, as opposed to a king who has a direction. So on one hand, we would say that the mind is the king of the human being. But it's not exactly so simple, because we know that the things that you want very deeply, they actually affect how you think. Okay? When a person yearns something, wants something, he can actually turn his mind to see the world in a different way. And that's in this week's Torah portion. It says, do not take a shochad. A shochad is a bribe, because a bribe blinds the wise. The word shochad is from the Hebrew word shehu chad. You become one with the thing you want. And if you think about it normally, let's say if you're watching a sports event and you decide to root for a team, you don't even know what the team is, you don't care, but you decide I'm rooting for this team, you're totally invested in it. A person feels when they want something, they feel one with it. And in that sense, the heart really is the king of the human being. Now, there's two different systems the way the world works. One is called, in the Kabbalistic terminology, circles, and one is called lines. And when I talk about a line, I talk about starting from beginning, middle, and end. And there, really, the head is the leader, the Rosh, the beginning, the starting point. But if you look at a circle all goes towards the center point. And from the center point, the spokes come out to all the aspects of the perimeter of the circle. And therefore, the center point, in a certain sense, is the most essential. And that is exactly the way a human being is built. You have the heart is considered to be in the middle. It's a large middle that goes from the heart down to what's called the tabor, the belly button area. And that's the middle of the person. And the reality is that each one of these two components really is like the leader of the human being. The mind can sometimes, when it knows what's right, can actually retrain the person to start to do something they should do. And that's the way a person should act. A person should know what is correct, because you have sometimes yearnings of things you want that are not good. And if you learn what is true, what your mind tells you is right, then your mind can actually influence your heart. But that's a hard job, because it's work. It's constantly trying to push yourself to things that you may not actually want. And so there's another aspect, which is not just forcing yourself to know what's true, but to actually develop the heart that it touches what you really deep down want. What's the inner will of a person? And this is in this week's Torah portion where it's called shoftim, judges. So it says that you have to have judges and policemen in all your gates. Okay, it also in this week's Torah portion talks about the idea of we had a king. The king wasn't like it is in the modern day or the ancient day world, which he was a despot. It was a person that was very great and unified the people. But it says by the judges need judges and policemen in all your gates. The king doesn't say that. The king, it just says he's the king. Why doesn't it say the king has to have officers in every gate? Why doesn't it talk about his policemen? And the reason is like this, is because the concept of judges and policemen is the mind. The mind judges, and then it needs to enact that to make that your will. And it needs to go and retrain yourself by knowing what's right in your mind. The judge of your mind can then put the policeman, all your gates, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, and control everything, all the input that comes in and goes out to go where it should. Judges, the mind, and policemen to make sure you act right and eventually hopefully change your heart. But the king was called the Lev, the heart of the people. And there's another way that we function. And that's the concept of being our own king and letting the heart really tune in to what you really want. Because when I say I want something, yeah, I'm a body. I yearn for this. I want this. I want all these different things. And I believe this is the most important thing for me. But if I tune in to the real will of the human being, what I really, really want, that is called the ultimate Ratzon, the deepest will of the person. And that's why the king, it doesn't say that he needs policemen, it doesn't need to be in all your gates, because when we tune in to the true heart, the true will of the person, which is much greater than the will that we just think of by our normal daily activities, that real will is the goal. And so when we unite the will we want in our hearts with the will that our mind understands what is right, we become whole people. Have a great week. Bye.